Even when we were young, the dark called to my brother in a way it didn't call to me. If such things are allotted to us somehow, if we are given ordinary measures of light and dark between us, the dark reached for my brother and not for me. Jimmy was born complicated on the inside, in layers that I have only begun to see. The inside layers are as clear to me now as if they had always been visible, thin and delicate, translucent and veined, a glowing tissue paper lantern, complex and iridescent as a dragonfly wing. This is where the artist lived, where the painter that he grew up to be was waiting, bathing him in the color he would bring to the canvas, the beautiful world pulsing through tiny veins even then. I wonder sometimes how long it took for the dark to notice him. When we were little, we drove for days once to visit our cousin's farm in Ontario. My brother and I, buckled in the back seat of our new family car, watched the prairies pass by our windows like an endless golden ribbon. The farmhouse had chickens in the kitchen and cows standing at the back door. When it got dark, Aunt Jackie took all the kids out to the field to walk in the tall grass, each of us armed with an empty pickle jar. As we walked, fireflies flew up around our ankles as if we were floating across a field of stars. I had never seen fireflies before. I was captivated, enchanted by the night. The dark was nothing with a field of stars at your feet. If you were quick, you could catch the fireflies in your hands and put them in your jar, and after a while, everyone had bright jars of fireflies, but me. "I can't catch any," I said, embarrassed that my voice broke as if I was crying. "Crying's not going to make you any faster," Aunt Jackie called out from the dark. I decided I didn't want a firefly anymore. "Suit yourself," she said. Later, when my aunt wasn't looking, my brother whispered to me. "You can have mine," he said. He loosened the lid and held the jar underneath mine to let his fireflies fill up the empty glass. That night I walked all the way back to the porch by myself, with a magic lantern of my own, as if there was no such thing as darkness. Everybody needs a brother who can catch fireflies, I thought to myself. I loved him fiercely. Books are magical things. Your eyes move across words on a page and suddenly you enter the mind and heart of a person you've never met. Experience moments perhaps so unlike your own, but suddenly they become yours. And I think that's ultimately the measure of a good book, that we leave its pages somehow changed. I think that's why writing Fireflies was such a long journey. I had to come to the place where I could accept that it was not just okay, but that it was important to ask the hardest of questions. That no longer shakes my faith, but it makes me comfortable with the experience of being human. Fireflies is the true story of my brother Jimmy and me. It's the story of losing Jimmy, but it's also a story about the church and how our belief systems shape the choices we make. We were both very young when I first knew there was something going wrong inside of Jimmy, wrong in the way that kids can understand. But our family was an ordinary kind of family, growing up in a small town in northern British Columbia in the 70s and 80s. There was no such thing as the internet in those days, so we knew less. Jimmy was a fun, gentle, good kid. He was sensitive and kind and anxious. He was born an artist, drawing and sketching from 3 years old. He grew up to be a remarkable painter. Jimmy was truly a gift to the world. If he was here today, he would have described me as being louder and bossier, a bit annoying, probably brave to some degree, which turned out to be a good thing, I suppose. Fireflies is the story of a quest. It's a journey I set out on at 17 in search of answers to help my brother. It's a quest that would take me from small-town northern British Columbia, eventually all the way to Zimbabwe, looking for answers. From the beginning of time, stories have been the way that human beings connect. Reading and writing, as much as we understand them to be solitary acts, are in fact the writer reaching from the page to grasp the hand of the reader, reaching back.